and that's Secret Hitler.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Got
was
Secret Hitler. Have you guys played that?
yes, my friend, or well, Kitty's friend, when we were in London, we played Secret Hitler. Except he had like some wooden. It was like some very fancy, like wooden Secret Hitler
Oh yeah.
version, and I had never played it before, and we just got wrecked. Like I just got suckered. I got suckered. I voted for Secret Hitler
Yeah.
like 3 times. I was very not
It
good.
is definitely a game of deception. We played that a bunch. I mean, we got
Yeah.
that I don't know a year or so ago and played it so much.
But
And yeah, you you can't trust anybody. That's for sure.
yeah, I'm just too trusting and gullible. So
Yeah,
I just fall for the Secret Hitler every time.
yeah. And you got to kind of be a good liar.
Yeah, that's not me.
Well, I'm excited. I think I got everything good to go. Let's, gosh, I guess we can just kind of dive in. So just so we start off, yeah, I guess go ahead and reintroduce yourself and just your part in the process of development and everything, and with Shovel Knight.
I'm Alec Faulkner. I'm a designer at Yacht Club Games. I make a lot of the levels and enemies and all that sort of thing.
All sorts of stuff.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And I am Sean Velasco, and I am also a designer here at the Yacht Club. I'm the director of Shovel Knight. And yeah, I do design. I did some level design with Alec, and objects and enemies and bosses. And also we do marketing and articles and banners and 2D
Yeah,
design and concept stuff and like everything, right? We're deeply involved in the process on every level, every day.
oh man. Well, I'm sure, and this isn't necessarily related to King of Cards, but I'm sure just Yacht Club Games, just in general, has kind of just expanded and grown and taken on a bunch of new projects and things just over the years.
Yeah, that's for sure. We expanded recently. This is our new office. That's much larger than it was before. I mean, our original office, well, we were working out of my apartment at first.
Yeah.
But the original office was like a couple of rooms that were about this size and windowless office space in Valencia, California.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's definitely grown a lot now. It's much nicer, and there's so many more people,
Yeah.
and there's I don't know, everything is very different and very changed.
That's,
And
yeah.
Alec, you've been here for how many years now?
Like 4 years,
Yeah, I was even saying 3, but it's like 4, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
something like that.
I can't believe that Shovel Knight came out in 2014. Like, it does not seem like that long ago. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it also seems like forever
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
right? Like I can't even think of I don't know. I can't imagine just thinking of Shovel Knight like every day, or like thinking of like like writing the word shovel like
Yeah.
every day for like 6 years, and I just never thought that I would do that. That's like really strange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't write the word night correctly in like any context.
Right.
I'll get it wrong.
I don't think I have, right? Yeah, yeah. It's like very yeah. It's definitely been very like all encompassing.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely Shovel Knight, one of my favorite games of all time now, definitely of the last decade. I just finished the campaign for King of Cards yesterday, so
Whoa. Okay.
that's
I was
exciting.
wow. That's like finished it.
Yeah.
You're like the only one. I don't know anybody's beat it.
No, maybe we got like a yeah. You might be the first one.
I just
Sucked.
I played a little bit of Showdown now, and then yeah, I just kind of plowed through. I didn't get every collectible or anything or all the secret exits, but I definitely went through and finished it. And I mean,
Whoa.
I loved it. Unbelievable. We'll dive into all that stuff, all the new additions and cool stuff.
Okay.
But I guess just to start off, kind of what led to the card theming around this time around. I mean, we'll get into like all the different expansions and kind of the evolution over time, but specifically here was like the card game sort of an idea already, and it's like we want to put that in, or did that come later after you started? How did you land on King of Cards?
Uh,
The idea of a card game was a really time we get around to a fourth Shovel Knight campaign, we would need to put something new and cool and like really wacky and different and goofy in there to spice things up. And so the idea of doing one is an old one, but we didn't really know exactly what form it would take until we actually started development on the game.
Right. It was like, let's put in a card game like Triple Triad.
Yeah.
Like, end of thought, right? And it'll be like LOL. It'll be a card game. And then we actually had to sit down and figure it all out. And like what all those systems were. And yeah, maybe it looks like Triple Triad from Final Fantasy VIII, like with that 3x3 grid, but the game like doesn't play anything like that.
And
totally.
How to slot something like that in there too is like another huge consideration.
You mean the platform
time? Yeah, is this like a game where you're mostly playing cards?
Right.
What if you don't like playing cards? What if you only want to do that? What if you want to only do the platforming?
Right.
Like how to divvy it all up.
Yeah, getting that balance was like really. This is like really it was strange.
It feels really balanced in there, which I really like. It's around the theming as a whole of the whole game. It's not, just a card game, obviously. And then I love that it's pretty much optional, like more or less. I mean, you really can just play it if you want to. I really enjoyed that because I didn't feel the pressure to get good at it. But it's still like really enjoyable too as a side thing. So I think it had that really good balance. And then it just tied into the theming of the game really well.
Cool. How far did you get in the cards? Did you finish a card house, or did you see any of the? What did you see?
I beat the first one. So Black Knight, when you go to, you fight him after you've beat everyone else. So I beat him, but I didn't get to any of the other like house leader people yet. It gets hard. It gets really hard.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, it sure does.
And I'm not good at it by any means. I mean, I definitely, even back at PAX when I played it, I was like, this is like. I'm gonna have to sit down with this for a while and really try to.
Well, you can sort of cheese it by going to the later levels or by going to some of the secret areas in the later worlds and getting the good cards.
Yeah.
And then you can go once you have like the level 4 cards, you can go back to World 2 and just trounce everybody.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't know. If you only have like 1 or 2 really great cards, sometimes there's still some fun in it. But
or you can buy cheater cards from Chester.
Oh, totally.
You can go like fight people on the airship and try to like grind out some cool cards that way. Yeah. You have like a lot of options for how you play the card game, and I'm really glad we added it because when I play through the game, that's like what adds the most spice for me when I have to play it a million times.
Yeah.
Like you can approach the card game in a lot of different ways, or you can like skip it entirely.
And it's good that there's a ton of options because it is, I mean, like random, I guess, right, in terms of how they appear in your deck, but also just the nature of it is it's a pretty, I don't know, like you lose a card when you lose kind of thing. Like it's sort of a real time in that aspect of just you have to manage your deck and you have to go and get cards and stuff. So there's kind of a lot at stake. It's not like it's just you lose nothing for losing, you know what I mean? So I like that you have the other options to make it easier, like the cheat cards and things like that. Like that helps out a lot.
Yeah, you get great rewards from everything, which is like cool as well. I usually go through and play a normal game, like just going on the map doing the platforming, and then I'll go through again with Joust just in mind and like clear out all of it and like 100% my card deck and do all that. So I like that you have that variety. It's like really good.
And the rewards are good, right? Because you get the medals for it, but like medals aren't necessarily, required. All the campaigns sort of have that aspect to me where you don't need to collect everything to buy everything, or like typically you can kind of get everything you want by the end of the game just by playing through normally.
Definitely.
But getting everything is just for if you want to, which is I think it's balanced really well.
Yeah. Yeah, King of Cards has like the most stuff like that of all of them.
Right.
Like in the earlier games, that balancing the gold is always kind of a tough thing for us. It's like how much should you have to do? How many times you're going to die? How much of the resources are you going to have in order to be able to get enough stuff so it's not going to be like too hard for you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So for King of Cards, we made sure to add a lot more like optional stuff because there's so much gold flying around in that game, like twice as much as like any other. Like I don't know, like we did that like on purpose, right? It's like, oh yeah, this is going to be a game where he gets a lot of gold. It's like about like wealth. So there's like a lot more stuff to buy just in general. You can grind through cash a lot more than
Yeah.
this one, and buy like buying cards and buying mystery cards and getting all the
New Game
spoiling too
Plus
much.
too.
Oh yeah, New Game Plus is great. Oh
Really,
man,
it
yeah.
really makes you think about gold.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's good. I haven't played that yet. The thing about the gold for me is like the more you have, the more you have to lose when you die, right? Like in the packages. So I feel like I need to go and spend some if I have like over 10,000. It's like I'm gonna lose a bunch if I die, so I want to go back and buy more things. But eventually, yeah, you have so much. It's like all right, I'm just I'm just gonna carry a bunch of dough. But
Yep.
but it's like I said, just balance wise, I think it's really good. I love. We'll talk maybe a little more about Joustus specifically. But first, so King Knight and sort of his personality in this really surprised me. I think just the fact that he's kind of like a mama's boy, a little bit of a whiny teenager feel,
Right.
and I love it. I think that's amazing. I was curious if it was kind of always intended that way. Like when you guys first made King Knight, he's obviously this regal, pompous, over the top from the start. But was it sort of like a facade in your mind at the start, or did all that kind of come later? His relationship with his mom is amazing. Just all that stuff.
Well, in the very beginning, King Knight, he's like the king. He's like the fake king of a gilded castle.
Yeah.
Right. That's the idea. And he's not even actually a king. He's just like a knight that calls himself King Knight.
Right. It's just
So everything about him is just like
Everything about him is already like fake.
right. So then when we finally sat down to like work on this one, we tried to think about like those themes, or like we knew that this was going to be the goofy one. Like
Yeah.
Spectre Knight was going to be like the edgy, cool one.
Totally.
And Plague Knight's like the weirdo, like Tim Burton one, and
Yep.
then King Knight is like the wacky, over the top one. So I think it all just kind of flowed, right? Like
Yeah, we
it
usually
made
know
sense.
like what the story vaguely should be about or what it should feel like, and we know how we want it to end, and so it's usually a matter of working backwards and figuring out
Right.
what that character is from there, based on like the beats that we want to land and the moments we want to hit.
It totally does kind of fill in the blanks, right? It's like so we know how Shovel Knight goes, so we got to kind of fill in those blanks, and
Yeah.
I think it fits really well. The even connecting with the theming of like it being a card game, like he's just wanting to be the king of Joustus. Like it's not like he's so even in that his final goal is not like real kinghood. He's just trying to become the king of this silly card game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely silly. Oh, for sure. Like I think just in general the theming is very very silly.
The whole game's a
Cool.
farce.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like dark, dark also. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I won't spoil, but like at the ending, man, it's like all right.
Yeah.
So I made a video when the first Shovel Knight came out a long time ago, a good game design on how Shovel Knight teaches without telling, how just that's sort of, in my opinion, it seems to be a very core design philosophy with all the campaigns of just making sure the player learns on their own, and the way they learn, they feel empowered, learn new strategies just through playing. You don't have to be told or hey, press A to jump or anything like that. I know Mega Man was a huge influence, and that you can kind of see that translate a lot. What else sort of led to that being core to you guys in everything you did? And the planes is just like the perfect that intro level for that, and all the campaigns are different, but they still use that in such a beautiful way. And sort of is that difficult to implement in such a fundamental level for you guys?
Outside of our own personal game design philosophy, which is like oftentimes always like no BS, get to the point, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
It helps a lot that we're making an NES game, and so many of the moments and feelings we want to capture in regards to like just letting you go and having freedom already there in like every NES game, right? Like Mario 1, 2, or 3 don't need to like pop up and tell you what to do or how to manage the controls, and so the formula is kind of already established in that sense.
Yeah. That's it's
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Yeah, we just try to make all the stages and characters and mechanics all work together in concert.
As far as planes goes, we always make those last, just so we know exactly what the game is when we make that stage, because that stage needs to kind of tell you everything about the game. And then we just play it with our baby eyes, where we play like
Right.
a game baby that doesn't know
Can
anything.
you have like keeping that naivete, but always right? It's like being able to approach something and be dumb about it. And I think it's almost like less coming from specific games as much as just like putting it through the ringer of iteration over and over again. Like, hey, how does this mechanic work? Oh, here's what arises out of it. Now we know what we need to teach, so we need to create another object or get some kind of situation so the player can learn that earlier, right? Like we'll become masters of it as we're going, but how we actually teach the mechanics doesn't become super clear until the end.
Yeah, stuff like, teaching you how to break a dirt block without a tooltip is obviously like really great, but I feel like one of the biggest strengths of the early levels is that it shows you the types of like gameplay and the types of setups you're going to be doing for the entire game, but in a really broad sense.
Yeah.
Like you get to be bashing and spinning on objects in King Knight's campaign like very, very early, and in like a few very basic ways that get like iterated on and like remixed countlessly throughout the entire game. Like the thread and the seeds and the feeling of the entire thing is like mashed into that beginning level.
I
Mm-hmm.
could just remember, or it's like I could just imagine in my mind like all of like the iterations of like the bashing and spinning stuff, and then like how it all appears in the final game. It's like, and then there's like the two lanterns where you have to fall down and bash and spin on it and like go to the ladder. It's like there. Once you know that, then you like know it all.
Yeah. Well, that's super smart to, like you were saying, you kind of do that last, because the planes always, to me, felt the most polished just of all the levels, because it is just, it's concise, like it never drags on, and it feels like it perfectly just tests you until you got it down, and it does, it prepares you for the rest of the, that's really smart, because it's like you have in your mind, okay, here's what they're going to face later, so now let's make sure that they're equipped,
Yeah.
and it pulls it off perfectly.
Well, thanks. the I don't know. Like my favorite levels are never the planes levels because it's always like they have to be so workmanlike, right? You got to like teach all this stuff. There's like 10 situations and we got to put them all in there and then try to obfuscate the learning enough that it's like interesting.
Right.
I don't know. I always like the stages about 2/3 of the way through the game when you get to really like open up the
Yeah.
difficulty and make the player make weird connections of what they got to do. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, let's talk
But
about that, because King Knight specifically, I feel like this is where you really kind of go just balls to the wall of like crazy level design mechanics. Like King Knight's movement feels the most limited. Just that he just does a bash and that's it, and then he has to spin, and then and then you can't bash again until you bounce on something else, etc. So instead of like making him have this crazy move set, it's like let's throw all these other things in the levels. So just off the top of my head, in like the Spectre Knight level where he's stuck in the goop and so he can't jump, and
yeah,
and just there's so many, all it feels like every level has something new, and that was
yeah,
super fun for me, that it's like seeing his movement combined with the level design. It's not just that he himself is fun to play, it's the combined with the new stuff you're seeing in every stage is what really brought it home. I don't really have a question, that's more just like I really like that. That was so
yeah,
cool.
I think that's a product of just having so many more levels
Yeah.
set up in our minds already, that like every level needs to have like totally new ideas and they shouldn't like overstay their welcome. And if we have like three times as many levels, that means that they're going to be like three times as focused on one thing than
Yeah.
they usually are.
plus we had 3 games worth of stuff, so it was easier to divvy it up all into different spots and be like, hey, this is always a fresh new thing. This is a new combination that hasn't been seen in the previous game. It's like having all that legacy content helped a lot too, and like just putting a little spin on it. No pun intended. No pun intended.
No, that's so true
Really.
though. Like the pacing felt a lot quicker because they're shorter levels, but you have that background knowledge already, so you can do that. You don't have to just slowly build through this long level. You can say, "Hey, you already know how to do this stuff. Let's just throw you into these crazy things." I think the
Yeah.
thing that stood out to me of Shovel Knight as a whole is just the evolution of the series over time, right? Because Shovel Knight basic Shovel Knight, obviously, like for just what it is there and the first thing you see, it's really cool and has all these revolutionary things. But the way Plague Knight changes the levels, the way Spectre Knight, even more, just the levels became a lot more crazy, new mechanics, the grinding and stuff is like the coolest thing. And then now King Knight, it just really feels like the fully realized evolution of the changing of movement mechanics, but then level design and stuff. I guess just talk to me about how that has changed over time, starting with Shovel Knight, working through the different characters and building new campaigns, the evolution of it.
Okay, well, original Shovel Knight, I guess we were just like looking at Mega Man and making like, and like trying to make a platformer and like trying to make something that was fun, something that had like clear mechanics, like a clear rule set, and just establishing what would work with a kind of melee Mega Man formula. That looking back on it now, it's like, whoa, how, it's like making this amazing thing that's like this vaunted thing is like, I don't know, that seems a little strange to think about. I guess it's not like we were thinking about how to make a checkpoint that was going to be used for 5 games, or like how to make a structure that was going to be used for 5 games. So I guess it just sort of got made from what we thought would be cool, like for an NES game.
Right.
And then further on, Plague Knight was just supposed to be like a Richter mode for Shovel Knight, just like something where you could jump through the levels as a different character that was a little bit more interesting to control. But then that got more crazier, and we put in more story, and then we put in other gameplay stuff, and we're like, oh, okay, this is like really feeling like its own game. And then with Spectre Knight, which is where Alec came into the picture, everything got even more crazier. And it wasn't thinking about it like a campaign, like a Richter campaign anymore.
Right.
At that point, we were thinking about it as a sequel.
Yeah.
Or at least a 50%.
Plague Knight feels like a game that's like constantly trying to subvert your expectations. And so after, where do you go from there? Is like, well, Spectre Knight will just be like a new thing.
Yeah. Like 50% new, 60% new. The levels,
and it feels that way because like the Plague Knight campaign feels like the levels are somewhat the same, but just the movement is so different. It feels so different. Spectre Knight is like totally changing.
Yes. Yeah, and we did that because we're like, okay, well then for King Knight will be like the Plague Knight
of Spectre Knight.
Of Spectre Knight.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like you'll go through the same.
That makes sense to me. I totally understand.
As I was saying it, I was like, wait, okay, am I getting it all right?
Yeah.
So King Knight would go through the same levels as Spectre, and we'd make it all work and everything. But by the time we got done with Spectre Knight, it was like, this is never going to work. And the levels are like...
Not even then. Like halfway through Spectre Knight, it's like, let's not worry about what King Knight's going to do in this level.
Yeah.
Like holding us back.
Yeah, we got to like...
It was like, what's King Knight gonna do like on the grind road?
Yeah.
He'll get in like a little buggy and like go across it. That was the idea.
Right, yeah.
Eventually it's like, let's not even think about those. We could move faster. We just focused on how we could make Spectre of Torment as cool as it could be. And then for King of Cards, I think a lot of the idea behind it has just been to like celebrate everything Shovel Knight like one last time. He feels like he's got bits of all the characters kind of in his DNA and his moveset.
Yeah, all the ideas that we were like, oh, we got to put it, like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if this was in there? We got to put this in Shovel Knight sometime. We got to do that. We like mashed all that stuff into King Knight, and that was the point. That was what we were trying to do. It was like, oh yeah, this could be our goodbye.
It's a big confetti-filled grand celebration, like in its game design and the actual thematics of the game.
That's exactly what it feels like playing it. Yeah, being just the culmination. It's like, all right, here's the last thing, and let's just go out big hurrah. Because just in like characters too, I mean, you literally face the Troupple King, like that's amazing, and so like things that you just never would have expected with the original, and then they just blow you away with. Let's do the crazy idea that some crazed fan now is celebrating because they'd been wanting that since the original Shovel Knight. Now it
Yeah.
actually is a reality kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's like us too. It's like it's like, oh yeah, ever since the first Shovel Knight, it'd be so funny if this and this and this. So it's like we're right there. Yeah, it's been so cool to see like the whole thing come full circle, right? Like I was a kid when the Star Wars is that had the new CG stuff got put in there, and like when they got like New Hope, and it was like CG
Yeah.
stuff. It's like so awesome, like that, like how it all like loops around. Right, and like all those like Lucas prequels where it's like explained in some strange like roundabout way, and then when you just like look at it as a whole thing, like it's just like this big like soup. I guess I I'm not really sure where I'm going with that. That's what Treasure Trove is to me.
It's a big soup.
It's a big
A
soup.
big soup.
A big good soup. It's like not. It's definitely not as dumb as the Lucas prequel. But those were certainly an inspiration. And now that everything's all together, it just like is cool. It like changes how I look at the original Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
Right. Like all the stuff that, like I was saying, like all the stuff that I don't know, we didn't realize we're going to make 5 games worth of that content. So it's just interesting to see how it all evolved.
Yeah, everything feels like it has more depth now. All those little throwaway characters that were nothing in the original, now that they're like they have all these other parts now, and that's really cool.
I'm like sort of worried that like ruins it, right? Like in the prequel, it's like Anakin like pushes the Rhodian, and they're like, "Come on, Greedo, like stop fighting with him," or whatever. And you're like, "Whoa, that was Greedo, like from the cantina." That ruins it.
No, it doesn't. You can just watch the original and it's still like fine.
Yeah,
Just don't think about it.
Don't think about it.
But yeah, there's a lot of that.
We had to be careful with that. Like
Yeah.
we don't want to ruin it, but we want to ruin it a little bit, just a little bit.
Well, there'd be like ham-fisting it, but I think just the way that you guys pulled it off, everything feels really tidy together. It feels cohesive and like I finished and it just felt complete. It felt like the whole package. Okay, it did feel full circle because then it led kind of right into Shovel Knight, which is
Right,
really cool.
yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
that's awesome.
It
I think that was good. It really
That's
felt
awesome.
polished to me.
Cool.
Let's shift gears to Showdown because at least my impression is that this is probably why it kind of took so long to get King of Cards out as a full final package. Is that maybe kind of accurate?
Yeah, I mean, we were making 2 games. So,
Yeah.
We said we're not going to put either of them out until they're both ready.
Yeah.
So that's it was 2 games, 2 develop, and Showdown had been in development really since like even during I think like Plague of Shadows we had like 2 characters jumping around, but
Right.
like very very basic. We revisited it time and time again, and then we really got cooking on it like during King of Cards development.
Well, because I guess what I didn't realize is that you had to make movesets for every like that's insane to me. So thinking of all the things to perfect like the campaign characters, King Knight and Spectre Knight, their movement, you had to do that for all the characters now, and they all have to have all these. I mean, and because they all feel that polished to me anyway. Like they're different. It's not just jumping. Like they have their special abilities, and that must have taken just a ton of work. It seems like.
Yeah, it sure did. And well, the thing is, we had a basic roster a very long time ago, and so during our downtime, it was like, hey, we got to animate. I don't know, like Mole Knight didn't have a run cycle. Propeller Knight didn't have a run cycle.
Exactly.
So it's like we had to do run cycles for everyone. We had to do get hits, die, get back up, jump, fall, jump, rise, like just all that stuff. But we had those folders of art were there, kind of once we got Showdown started in earnest. So we already had a lot of that groundwork laid, and we knew we wanted the characters to have their move sets from the game,
Right.
more or less. And so it was still like it was still crazy to like get it all figured out. There was a lot of just like design work as far as the characters went, making all that stuff.
We couldn't reuse like any art. That's what I keep thinking about. Like it so many times
It
in the
looks
development
the
of
same.
Showdown, it was like it'll just be these boss characters, but you can control them. But like everything had to be totally different.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, Propeller Knight needs to stand on the ground, and his feet need to be like exactly where the collision is. So we got to like redraw everything because it doesn't matter when it's a boss fight.
Right.
Right.
You don't need to worry where his feet are because you're not controlling him and you can't fall off. Or it's like his saber and his idol is just out. That's fine when you're playing the game and your Shovel Knight because when you run into him, you get hit.
Yeah.
When his saber's out, it makes him look like he's attacking or something. And then he would pop when he goes into his run cycle. It's like, well, I guess we got to redo that. Okay, I guess we got to redo like everything in the animation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, just thinking about how to control them, like that must have just changed everything. Just
like,
animation, but like balancing everything, you know. I'm sure
that was like Ian, right? We got to have fun thinking about. Oh yeah, but this character should have this move, or wouldn't it be fun if he controlled like this, or I don't know, just trying to solve problems of how do you make a giant character work, or how do characters that have limited mobility get around the stage more easily.
Most characters, it felt like they started with like one idea, like Propeller Knight's like a really aerial person. And like we should get that in there and then figure out how to balance it after that. Polar Knight is like huge, so let's just like put him in there and then try to work around that.
Right. He's got to be that big.
Yeah.
We know that, right? We're used to working within a constraint, I guess. Right? It's like, well, he's got to be this big. We got to make something. We got to figure something out.
Just make it work.
Knight's got to like dig through the ground like somehow. So let's like figure that out. And then usually the other moves, the other elements of their mobility, how high they jump, the way they control their acceleration, all that just comes from how to balance a character around like what the big idea is.
Right.
If Mole Knight can like dig through the ground really fast, he needs like something that's like maintained and like regular. So how about like a regular claw swing? And then that's 2 moves down, fill out the rest of it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
but starting there's the way to do it.
Back. Like even as we were playing, even as we went pretty far in development, it's like, oh, well, like Mole Knight specifically, it's like he's missing a move, so we had to give him that little corkscrew thing because he just couldn't hit people that were above him, and he needed a way to get a little bit more distance if he was like falling down and hit. So it was like we all sat in a room and said, okay, well, what do we think about all the characters? We made a big roster of who our favorites were and who our least favorites were. And we all got to give feedback on them and make new moves. And we said, okay, well, Mole Knight's got to get a new thing. And yeah, I think at the end of it, everyone had there was a pretty good spread of favorites.
Yeah. Every character was championed by somebody in the office. Yeah. Which is like a small sample size, but it gives us a little bit of confidence that like everyone's considered and everyone has something really interesting about them. Yeah.
Well, I like what you said that, I mean, if you start from, this is what they need to have, you don't have the compromises that way. It doesn't feel like this character's just thrown in and they have a, blank A moveset. It's just like, it's based around their actual character. There's no like copycat echo characters, or whatever. It's just like, start with, it has to be this. And then that way, that's to me what made it feel so like, I don't know, alive. All the characters were like, it's who they were supposed to be, and they were also unique, which is great.
That's cool. I'm glad to hear that. No, I mean that's really cool. I think we worked really hard to make sure that each character embodied what their character and their boss battle was.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, it came out pretty good.
Dark Reese was supposed to be a Echo.
Right. That's that's like where the idea, Dark Reeds, even before Spectre Knight, the idea of Dark Reeds came from Shovel Knight Showdown, because we made like a fake Street Fighter screen, and there was like Reeds, and then over here was like Reeds with a purple, like it was like, and then it was like Dark Reeds, like a dark view, and we're like, oh, that'd be funny. And then we put real Dark Reeds in, and now they're not even echoes really.
Yeah.
I'm glad that none of the characters, we were talking about this earlier, I'm glad that none of the characters feel like rip-offs of characters from other games or from other fighting games.
I don't think so.
Yeah. There's like they have like unique mobility, and they feel like they're boss battles. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is like a Ryu clone, or like, oh, this guy's like Scorpion or whatever.
No, and it feels like a condensed version of a campaign for each of those characters because you got to learn their movesets. So it's like I started with King Knight because that's what I was used to playing right now with King of Cards,
Yeah,
and then I'm like, okay, well let me do Spectre. I've played him before. Let me do Shovel Knight. I've done him before. But then it's
cool.
like I'll try out Shield. What the heck will that look like? Let me try Polar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. It's totally different. And so it almost feels like a little nod for people that are like, man, I wish there was a Polar Knight campaign because there kind of is. Like the story mode, you have the little tidbits of story, and that's like the perfect just polish on top of it to be a little bit of every character for the people that want it.
That's totally like what we were thinking about when making it too. It's like this is our one shot at making a treasure night
Yeah,
campaign, kind of. So
exactly.
what's got to be in there, and what should it kind of feel like, and what should he say?
Yep.
In like 15 minutes.
Yep. We worked really hard to make sure that every character had a different rival. So
Yeah.
like no one is each other's rival, and no one has the same rival. Like seriously, we had to make a program to decide who was going to be whose rival. It's like, no, well, he can't be his rival, or this character can't be this character's rival. And it was like, no data, no data. We're like, we gotta enable more rivals so they could all match up, right? It's like Shovel Knight can't be, or like Mole Knight can't be Shovel Knight's rival. That's like too random and dumb. This one has to be locked in. So
Oh,
like
that's so funny.
it was like very carefully considered.
Wow.
And, like, I don't know. It was fun to make little stories for everyone and to do the little intros and outros.
Yeah, you get to see like just a little bit of each character, just a little bit of what they're thinking about, a little bit more about them than you would have gotten in like any campaign.
And there's like revelations and like expanded lore and stuff too.
Mhm.
Like if you're a Shovel Knight lore fanatic, of which there at least
There's dozens of
at
them.
least a couple. I am. I don't know. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, then that I think that's going to be really cool as well. Just seeing all the campaign.
It was really exciting to see that it wasn't just a little tacked on tiny extra like this. I mean, the effort really showed through to me that it's like this is if you actually play it, you just really quickly realize how much effort went into it. It's not just like let's put a fun little thing on the end there. Like this, it's just as in depth as the campaigns. So I hope people don't write it off like that. Like go play it and realize there's a lot to
me
uncover.
too.
I would hope
Us
so too.
Yeah, that's what. Well, I mean, we're trying to evangelize it because we just don't want people to. Yeah, it's not. This isn't something you should ignore. It's like really actually neat and cool. We
Right.
put like a ton of effort into it. It's its whole own game.
And all the unlockables, like that's a kind of a new thing too, of like way to unlock all these characters. It's got that for those people, for the people that love that stuff and ways to unlock it, and you kind of like tell them how to, which I think is even cooler. It's like if you want to unlock this character,
like a hint.
do this.
Yeah.
Some of it, yeah.
It was pretty necessary to me in the fighting game like that. So much of the fun with any type of competitive thing comes with like practice and mastery over it, and so there needs to be stuff in the game to like egg you on and get you like over the hump of like learning the game and like
Right.
learning why it's cool.
Yeah, you got to play multiplayer for 5 hours or something to unlock it all. But during that time, it's like hopefully your skill set is expanding. The more complex characters are unlocked more towards the end. So like by the time that you get to them, you're ready for them. I guess that's like the way that we tutorialize the game as well as keep it interesting for a multiplayer game, which is like
Right.
kind of I don't know. We're not used to making something like that.
Totally
So
different.
so it was kind of cool.
Right. Was there? This might be kind of like to start to wrap up. What was there anything Showdown or King of Cards that just you really really wanted to throw in, but was cut on the cutting room floor, or more ideas, or because correct me if I'm wrong. There's even like new areas in King of Cards. Like we see new locales. It's not just visiting the same stuff. So was just anything at all? Were there things that you just really wanted to throw in there, but ended up not making it in?
There's one big thing that we had to cut, and there was it was King Knight going to the moon, and and so yeah, it was like I don't know, it would be like Final Fantasy IV, like it's like, oh, we gotta like, come on, King Knight, we gotta like go to the moon, and then you go to the moon, and there would be like a moon village, and there would be like moon card games and like moon people. and there's some kind of final boss and like a new tile set, and there'd be like jumpy gravity. Right? There'd be a
Yeah.
level with jumpy gravity.
Nice.
Um,
It's a game where you're progressing through a big world map, and so that's like the ultimate subversion that you would want, right? It goes like up.
a new map, right? And it would be like the map would be just like the circle, right? And it'd be and they're just like with like two little nodes on there. Go to the moon, go to the card house.
Yeah, if that was in there, this game
Not
it would come out in 2020.
Right.
We couldn't. We just couldn't. So there is an alternative, also cool Easter eggy kind of thing that's similar to that, but it's definitely not as scopy as that one.
That's awesome. Well, I guess just my last question then, and maybe it's somewhat related to that, just in terms of, what's in the future. I know you guys got Shovel Knight Dig coming in somewhat near future, helping publish Cyber Shadow. Also, is there, talk to me. Are there things now that Shovel Knight's kind of officially wrapped? Where are you guys headed next?
Well, we like did our postmortem. Alec's making like iOS stickers for Shovel Knight, where it's like Mole Knight and it says hot. Like we're doing like nothing right now. It's, we really need to start working on something new. And that's what we're that's what we're going to be doing like really soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got
new year, new game.
Yeah, we got like now that we got our team and everything's all done, we'll probably sit and say, hey, here's what we got. What do we want to make? And to go from there. So there's a lot of ideas.
It's exciting. I'm right. I can only
nothing set
imagine.
in stone, or even set in soap.
You guys did a long time back. I think you did like a poll or something of like, what would you like to see? As tackle a racer or like a whatever. I kind of just feel like anything's on the table in terms of what's next.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know. We love like games of all types, right? We've been working on 3D stuff. We would love to do something 3D at some point. I think we're done with Shovel Knight like stuff for like right now. Like we want to do something. Everyone I think is done making a big giant game for right now.
Yeah.
I think we'd like to make something that's like small and I don't know, simple. That doesn't take forever. And we like games. Like we like all kinds of games, like of all types and all genres and all everything. So I think that's what the fun that we have making games a lot of the time is getting together and saying like, well, how could we iterate on this formula and do something like interesting or different with it? So
we're like, how could we fix it?
Right. How can we fix it?
I like this
Right.
game, but like it's not perfect. How do we fix it?
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like kind of no matter what we end up working on, I feel like we'll go through that similar kind of process. That's what I'm excited for. Is like how are we gonna make the perfect version of whatever this next thing is, no matter what that's gonna be.
That's awesome.
There's
Yeah,
still
I love
Shovel
that.
Knight stuff too. That's like still going on, right?
Definitely.
Like hopefully with Dig and like maybe some other stuff we haven't announced yet too. There can continue to be so much cool Shovel Knight stuff in the pipe as we explore something.
Well, I want to make a Shovel Knight 2, and I want to make like a Shovel Knight 64, and I want to make like other like Shovel Knight stuff. I think not everyone agrees. Like, so we need a palate cleanser.
I'm with you on that. I had heard that a lot, right? Oh, let's make Shovel Knight 64. Or like, I would love to see them make a Shovel Knight 64. I totally get that. Like, go, do something fresh. You've given so much already of the Shovel Knight universe to the world.
Yeah, it's pretty expansive.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs some time to digest it all.
Yeah.
Really fill out the Shovel Knight wiki.
Yeah, exactly. King of Cards will definitely do that. There's a lot of crazy wacky stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. I mean, this gave me a ton of insight. I appreciate it a ton. Any parting words or, like things to... I might end up posting this interview. Any words to like the fans or anything like that?
Just please play King of Cards and Showdown.
Yeah, right.
It's free if you have Shovel Knight. Just play it. That's all we ask.
Right. Get some friends together and play Showdown 4-player and play it for a few hours and unlock some stuff.
Yeah.
That would be my most greatest wish. Yeah. I guess I want to say thank you. Thank you so much to everyone that's played Shovel Knight and bought the game and supported us. And it's been, like you said, 6 years of making Shovel Knight. That's like unbelievable. I can't believe that we've been able to do that and support ourselves and have success and make a cool game and work with amazing people and meet our heroes. And it's just sure been cool. So thank you so much for supporting us. And we'll continue to keep doing our absolute best to make great stuff. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, very good. Thank you guys so much for taking some time out. I appreciate it a lot. Loved King of Cards. It was amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. Much appreciation. Let us know how Showdown goes as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to stop recording.